we go to the yard. We're thinking, hey, let's talk about it. Nope. Next thing you know, we get out there, they start talking. There's a group over here, group over here. The heads are in the middle meeting. And right at that meeting, one of the guys hits the other one, and here we go. You see it all out. It's like what you see on TV. Once it hit, I get shanked in the arm, I get shanked in the shoulder. 12 staples across top of the head, 6 down the back. Where they're getting it in. My adrenaline's running. I didn't feel none of this. Now I know nobody got killed because God's hand was on it. I look back now and I said, you know what, Lord, thank you. Because I was mad. Man, we didn't kill one of them. That was my attitude then. I go back to my cell and I said, Lord, I got to get out. And I'm going to go get out tomorrow. And I prayed. I'm not sitting here, oh, man, I'm going to fight everybody. No. I went and prayed. I said, Lord, I need your help, but I might be seeing you tomorrow. And I literally meant it. I said, Lord, I'm going to go walk out. I'm going to go tell them I'm done and I'm going to serve you. The next day I go, call them out to the yard, the heads, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm going with God. And so the heads are like, yeah, we saw you, man. We seen you going to church. And so they go, hey, you know what, man, we're going to go have a meeting on it. Some in the group who didn't know me were saying, oh, man, this dude's just trying to hide behind the Bible. And the other half that saw me in the riots and the fights and everything I did up until that time. So they were like, no, when it was time to fight and all that stuff, he showed up. And so they called me back out to the yard and they're like, hey, look.
Welcome back to the Invest in Yourself podcast. Today's podcast, I'm joined by a former prison gang member named Jamie Botello. This is his second time on my podcast. If you haven't seen the first podcast, that link can be found in the video description below. In today's podcast, we dive deep into Jamie's time in prison, because not only did he join a prison gang, but he also gave his life to the Lord. We go into detail about the work he put in for this prison gang he joined, and most importantly, we talk about the work God was doing on Jamie. Jamie has totally reformed his life around and has gave his life to the Lord. He is living proof that with God you can achieve many things. Please subscribe to my channel for more interviews like this. And without further ado, let's get into part 2 with Jamie. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Invest in Yourself podcast. Today I got a returning guest on today. Jamie, thank you for coming back on. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, well, I felt it was only right to bring you back on. We got a little, I think we got a little bit more to cover with your story, and I felt it was, I felt a little more. I felt, maybe we should cover a little bit more with what went on with you in prison and when you got out, and because there was just so much more we could have expanded on, and I think you said you kind of felt the same way.
Oh yeah, because when we got out of that last interview, I knew there was a lot of stuff that wasn't covered, and I said, well, I prayed and I said, you know what, Lord, just have a part 2 if you want it. I'm here, and then you reached out and I said, hey, no problem, I'm here. So
Yeah, no, and I feel you, man. So for the people that, if you haven't watched part 1, I'll put that in the video description below, and you can watch that first and then rewatch and then come back to this video. Because what we'll do is we'll just start this video off on when Jamie was on his second term in prison, and this is where he gave his life to the Lord, and before that he joined a prison gang. So that's kind of what we'll go into, Jamie. And so what was it like when you first got into this your second term of prison? And if you want, you can talk about why you got sent to prison this time.
okay, yes, I was that's what I was gonna is I wound up getting busted for cocaine. I said it on the last one. And then I got sentenced, like I explained on the last video, is that, I didn't want to cooperate. So the judge made sure to stack 2 sentences. I've been to the Texas Department of Corrections, which is TDC here in Texas. And then the judge stacked my federal sentence. So I go straight from the Texas Department of Correctionals, and then the FBI picked me up. And let me explain that. So while I'm in TDC, which is Texas Department of Corrections, my sentence is coming to an end, and I'm in there praying, hoping, man, maybe they'll forget, and maybe they won't come, because I knew I already got sentenced for the federal, and so it's called the brass bars here in Texas. You go out to the Walls unit, it's in Huntsville, and they're gonna let everybody out, and so I'm walking up with everybody else, and it's my release date. I wound up having to do the whole time. I didn't get no parole, no nothing. I wound up doing 2 more years on the TDC sentence, and now the feds are coming to pick me up. And so I'm over there at the thinking I'm gonna get out, and I said, well, maybe because they took me all the way. I went through the whole process of getting released at TDC, and then as I'm going out, they say, "Come here," and they take me to the room to the side, and I said, "Uh oh." So when they put me in the room to the side, two FBI agents walked in, and then you're just like, man, because it's a different type of fear. I've been in TDC. I've been dealing with state charges, state issues, going to court. When I would get caught again, I'd be like, oh, because you can plea bargain down your cases in state, and you can get probation. There's a lot of leeway, but when it comes to the federal, when they get you, they get you. They just don't go and go arrest you, because when they go arrest you, that means they're gonna sentence you. What does it say? I think the federal has a 98% conviction rate.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
right.
so
Something like
that,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it's in the 90s. And
Yeah.
now I know why, now that I've dealt. So um I was already convicted, sentenced. So when they walked in, I was like, man, and that could go back, because what I meant was when I first got caught by the feds and an FBI agent walked in the room, it's like a type of fear comes on you, like, what did I get involved in now? Because I'd been dealing with state and county jail, city jail, and stuff like that. And but when them FBI agents walk in on you, your heart just like, oh, I done it now. I've done it now. so so as I was coming out, I'm going back and forth. But so as I'm leaving, I done got sentenced, messed with the FBI, and so as I'm going out the gate, they pull me to the room to the side, and then it's two. I forgot what they're called, but they come and get you. Next thing you know it, I got to walk out the front gates of the front door of the. It's called the brass bars because there's bars on both sides, and it's the Walls unit at Huntsville. And as you come out, I see people getting, their families are waiting for them, and I look over and I see them hugs, and they're getting, and I'm escorted out in ankles to your waist to your wrist. They let me out to the front door like everybody else, but I got two U.S. Marshals on each side of me, and I'm getting shackled, and they're walking me to their van, and they're taking me to the federal holding. And I was like, yeah, I felt down because I'm looking and everybody's out there getting hugs, and because they're getting released. In me, I would even see some people like, oh, he's going from prison to prison. And that was it. I done went and did my time. Now I'm gonna go do, some more time. So now I go over there to the feds. Now I really thought that my time was running concurrent, and that's how I found this out later. Like, nope, the federal judge stacked it, and I was like, ah. So fast forward now, I go and I get sent to the federal holding. It's in Conroe, it's outside of Houston, and I get sent to this prison. And you look it up, it's called Bloody Beaumont. It's a federal institution, and it's in Beaumont, Texas. And the name for that prison is called Bloody Beaumont. So I go over there, and I'm like, because a guy that was on the chain and that I met at that federal corrections holding in Conroe, Texas, said, "Hey, where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Beaumont." They go, "Hey, they call that place Bloody Beaumont." I said, "Bloody Beaumont? What?" So I'm like, "What's going on?" And seeing that's why you have my paperwork. I was considered a high inmate classification because I have a violent criminal history, aggravated assaults with deadly weapon, assault. I have violence. So what they do is called, they send you to gladiator farms, meaning they send you with other people who have violent past, violent charges like you, and they put you all in one prison. Well, when I got to Beaumont, I didn't make it to the USP, and that's because God. Now let me tell you a quick test. My points were high enough to go to the USP. Now, USP is the only thing that beats USPs is the ADX Max, where they keep bombers, John Gotti. But so I'm at right underneath the USP. It's a medium high. It's called, I was at the Bloody Beaumont medium, but it's called medium high. And the only one above that is USP. And then the ultimate is, ADX Max in Colorado. So I'm over here, and I thank God that He didn't send me to the USP. Now I look back, because I was a hard head. I would have went in, because I joined that gang, Tango Black. I would have went in there and my flag. Well, they wanted to wind up killing me, because come to find out, the Tango Blast can't walk. This was then. This, you're talking 20 years ago, and Now I don't know, but this is my story. This was 20 years ago. So
Right.
I would have went in there and said, "Yeah, I'm black." That's the way I was. My attitude then was, "Yeah, it's called check in or check me in." Meaning, when you get to your yard and if you're not supposed to be there, it's called, "Hey, you better check in." And if you're a gang, you say, "No, you check me in." Meaning, we're gonna fight, and then the guards come get me, and then they pack it up, and then. So I used to have that attitude, before I got saved. That was my attitude. No, you check me in. Well, anyway, thank God I never went because they would have wound up killing me because I wouldn't have stayed in the hole. I would have walked out there. And so anyway, I get to Beaumont right underneath the USP. Well, at this time, I get there. You're talking about a culture shock because I was in TDC. Well, in TDC, it's very structured. You got to stay behind the line. They only let so many people out at a time. It's very, very controlled in Texas Department of Corrections. Feds is a whole other world. It's you hear the ones that they call them cupcake, and is it now you got the lower custody levels? Yeah, they're more laid back, more. But where I was at, it wasn't like that. And not only that, okay, I don't know if you remember in '05, the Hurricane Katrina hit uh what Louisiana. Okay, well this prison is not far from the Louisiana line, and so that prison itself got hit. It got flooded, so they emptied that whole prison and got all the inmates out of there, so nobody could get killed, nobody get hurt over that storm. Well, coming back to the end of '05, '06, when everything passed, they went in and worked on that prison. They had to fill it back up. So what they were doing was just dropping bus after bus after bus of people just to fill it up. Well, the reason why that yard was real hard is because every gang was trying to take control of the prison. So when you have something like this, they're fighting. We're fighting all the time because, and at this time now, I don't know if you look up the gang Dongo Blast here in Texas. Well, now it's a very very big gang, but back then when I got to the feds, it hadn't totally crossed over into the feds, so we had to make a name for ourselves in the federal institution. Now it had been established in the Texas Department of Corrections, which you had to fight. If you're a gang and you're barely trying to come out, well, guess what? You got to fight all the time to either establish your name or they're going to take you out. So when I come over to the federal, which I already knew about Donald, that's what I was when I was in TDC. I come over and it's come over, but it's not like it is in the TDC. It's trying to get established. There really the structure is kind of, and so I'm over here. I'm like, no, I'm blasting. So I'm this is the way I used to be. I don't mean to offend no other gang. I'm not a part of that no more. I'm just telling the story of how what Christ has done in my life. Well, anyway, so
Hmm.
I come over and I get to the feds, culture shock. So they bring me in. I'm saying, I already done time. I was in TDC. I heard, feds is cakewalk. Feds is tennis courts and basketball. And I'm thinking, oh man, I'm gonna have it. No, that's the lower custody feds. Where I was at was higher custody. And it's not like what people think it is. Now it is, meaning you got AC, you can sleep in your room. It has AC in the units, but at TDC, there's no AC, it's only a heater. So you sweat during the summer and you're cold during the winter. Anyway, so now I'm the feds pick me up. I'm walking into the federal unit. I look over, I'm there. The warden talks to us. And he's like, look, I only got something to tell y'all new ones coming in. He goes, y'all don't fight around my guards. He said, if y'all want to fight and y'all kill each other, he goes, take it to the rec yard. And I'm
Really?
looking, this is what the warden told us.
Wow.
So I'm gonna be honest, at my time, I'm thinking, man, he's just talking tough. He's just trying to scare us. This is what the warden told us at Bloody Beaumont. This is 20 years ago now. About I find my TDC. So I was '03. You're talking about like maybe '05, '06. It's almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago. Did
Yeah.
I finally hit Beaumont? But I was already blasting and everything before. But anyway, so I get to that unit and it's different. Let me clarify. In TDC, they call the unit the whole yard, and in federal, the whole compound. They call it a compound, and your unit is where you stay. So it's two different. Anyway, so I get to that compound, and that's what the warden tells us. So I'm thinking, nah, he's just trying to be tough. He's just trying to scare us, right? So then I go to the back door and they go, all right, you're at unit. I forgot what I was back then, CK or whatever, because it's two letters and downstairs, upstairs. And it looks like a big college campus to be exact. So I go to them back doors and I'm looking, I'm like, well, is the guard gonna walk me? Because in TDC it's very controlled.
Mm.
A guard is always out there. Guards are always out there. You have to walk behind a line. It's very so many out. It's very structured. In the feds, they open the back door. Now go. I'm looking like, is somebody gonna walk us? No, go. You're at that unit. When I go out that back door, you'll see people walking, and it's a move, and it's only during move. It's not all day. It's called a 10-minute move. And over here at Beaumont, bloody Beaumont, it's a move. I'm looking back there. There's people walking in gym shorts and t-shirts, and because in TDC you have to wear prison issue clothes. In feds, they're prison issue. You can buy them off the commissary, but they're you can wear shorts. Only to lunch chow you have to wear your full uniform. That's only if you're gonna go eat, or if you go to your job you have to wear. But other than that, going to the rec yard, you're wearing shorts, t-shirt, muscle shirts. They had coolers, and I'm like, it was. I was in shock. I'm looking. So as I go walking to the unit, these gangs are coming out, and I see people in line, and there's two tiers. There's upper deck, lower deck, and I see one guy yell at this other guy because there was a war between back then. I'm not trying to back then. It was a war between the Paisas and the Aztecas, and this was then. I don't know what it's going on now. As I'm walking in that line, I see some guys yell from the top tier, "Hey, on there is," they're telling them, and I'm like, "Nah, he ain't talking to me." I look back, and there's some guys that look like the other group. So I said, "No, he ain't talking to me," because like I said, I was ready to fight, and I'm looking. So I said, "No, I'm going to the yard." Well, then this yard, I come to find out, was so crazy is that when we get into the unit, meaning our living area, the guard even takes us into this cell. He shuts the door. He goes, "Look, if you ain't supposed to be here, go ahead and walk back up on top right now and go ahead and get out of here." I'm like, "What you mean?" "Well, there's certain people who can't walk here. Don't be tough. I don't want to carry you out." And so I'm thinking, oh man, this place is okay. This it was a whole different ball game. I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking, but back then I had that mentality. You got to kill me. That's just the way I was. And so I said, well, you know what? I ain't gonna stay in this cell and hide. So he was telling these people, look, man, don't be tough. If you ain't supposed to be here, just go back on up to the top and go check in, and we'll send you to a prison where you can walk. And I said, no, they're gonna have to check me in. That was my attitude then. So I walk out that door, and I go out there, and I thank God. Now I know. Now I'm not tough. Now I know it was God who allowed me not to get killed, because when I walk out there, I look, "Hey, who are you?" I say, "I'm from Austin." I said, "I'm ATX, man." "Oh, you got homeboys here? Hey, they're over there," and blah blah. So I go, "Oh, okay." Hey. They're like, "Oh no, your people's here. You're good." "Oh, hey, so what's up?" Because I didn't know what was gonna happen. I said, "Man, I don't know if these dudes are trying to set me up to fight." So they go over there. We get to talking, and they go, "Hey, we're good here. These are your friends." Hey, so next I started running to people from Austin. Hey, and then it's called the Blast: Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, and now in Feds, I call it the Super Blast because it just wound up being like Texas, but not really. But anyway, it was a whole. So I'm looking. I said, "Oh, it was a whole ball game." That warden wasn't lying when he said, "Hey, um." He said, "This is one rule he gave us." He goes, "Don't fight around my guards." He said, "Don't do that." He said, "Because then I'm going to come down there." And he said it. He goes, "If y'all want to kill each other, go to the rec yard." And he said, "We'll pick up the bodies later." I said, "Whew." Well, as I'm walking out, it's starting to dawn what he said. I said, "Yeah." I thought he was just being tough. I said, "No, he's telling the truth." So here we go. I'm on this yard, and there's fighting every day because, like I said, all these buses are come daily. They're just trying to fill that yard. They're filling that yard because it was a totally empty prison. because from the Hurricane Katrina, now all the gangs are fighting for control of the prison. There you got some gangs that are fighting other gangs, and some already had wars from another, and they're catching here. Next thing you know, all this fighting's going on, and I just got my back to the wall. Like, all right, and then I tell my friends, "Hey, we got." They're like, "No, we're good. We don't have nothing, but just be careful." All right. So this stuff was popping out. I mean, walking down. Now it's just called a walkway. Now in prison they call them bowling alleys. I mean, in TDC, now here in the feds, it's just a walkway. Everybody, it looks like a big college camp. People are coming and going, and if you want to hit somebody, it's no problem. You can just go to where they're at and live, and go in their cell. And I mean, it's a whole different world in the federal institution.
Did they
It's
not
different.
have much secure COs or security guards, or was that the problem?
No, they did, but when somebody wants to get you, and when because in TDC, right, in the Texas Department of Correction, they only open up a door, and then you got to walk out, and then they shut the door, and they only let so many. And it's very structured. In the federal system, it's called a 10-minute move. Every door opens, every yard opens, and it's a 10-minute move, and they open up everything so people can go where they got to go. And so if I decide to say, hey, I want to go in that other unit and get that dude, well, they don't. I'm just and because the COs, what they do is they're inside the building. They come outside to watch all that movement, and so all the COs are outside watching the movement, making sure nothing happens while these people are moving around. But little do they know, we're inside getting people while they're outside watching the walkway, watching out there. So when a lot of moves were done, they were done when the COs would go outside to go watch, making sure groups aren't getting it on out there in the open when the doors open. So we're inside the unit, like hits were done inside of the unit while the cops were outside watching the walkway because it was a 10-minute move. So you have that thing open for 10 minutes.
Hmm.
You can take somebody out in 30 seconds. You don't even need the 10 minutes. So a lot of stuff will be happening during these 10-minute moves.
What was another example of when you said God saved you during that time? So
Yes.
was there another example that you can say that God saved you while you're in prison that
Well,
may have stepped in like that?
oh, you know what? Now, what I mean is looking back now. Now, at the time, I didn't know God saved me because, come to find out, as you're there and you meet, there was another friend I met at a transfer facility that they sent him to USP Bloody Beaumont, and he was a hard head like me, and he goes, "Yeah," I told him, "Yeah, I'm blasted." But when he walked out there, another gang stabbed him 3 times, and he flatlined 3 times, and they brought him back to life. And he was from Houston. He was from H Town. They call it Houston. And I met him at a transfer. He goes, "Yeah, I was." They sent me across, and mind you, now you have to be careful how you talk to these counselors and stuff. He was being real smart with the counselor, and the counselor knew he couldn't walk there. Counselor goes, "Okay, yeah, go ahead, go out," because the administration's in on these things too. They knew he couldn't be on the yard. He told him, "Hey, I'm Donald with Blast, wherever." So he went out there, and they were waiting for him, and they hit him. He flatlined. He almost died. They hit 3 times at that USP Beaumont. You see, after I got saved and found all this information out, I said, "You know what, Lord, my points, because they go by point system, meaning your criminal history, if it's violent, I had enough points to be at the USP. But after I got saved and looked back, I said, Lord, you didn't allow me to go because I was going to walk out there too, and they probably would have killed me." And that's why meeting this guy later on, and that's what I'm saying. I'm hindsight's 2020. After I got saved, I said, "Oh man, this dude from Houston," because we met up at a transfer facility, and I'm finding all this stuff out. Later on, it comes to me like after I get saved and my mind's right, and I'm like, that's why I didn't go over there. God, you saved me. But going back to what you're saying, where I literally knew something happened at that transfer facility, some stuff happened, right? And I was gonna get this guy, you know, and I said, Lord, I said, well, I need your help. I said, because I have to go do what I have to do. Some stuff happened. I said, and I gotta go get him. Doesn't mean I was gonna kill him. I was gonna put hands, but I said I gotta go get him. So I actually kneeled down and pray. I said, Lord, I'm in this transfer facility. They're about to move me to another prison because I just come out of a riot, and I'll explain that one too. And but going back to what you said, where I saw God move and I wasn't even saved, is I said, Lord, I got to do what I got to do. I said, but if you can help me get out of this mess, so I'm praying, and I went and put it's called pistols. You go in and I got some socks. You put them on your hands because when you get in a fight, they check your hands. Well, you got to cover your hands, so when they check your hands, they won't see no marking, no bruising, no. So I went and balled up my hands with socks, and I said, as soon as they open this door in the morning, I'm gonna go over there and go get that guy. So I prayed that night. I said, well, Lord, I pray that you can do something with this situation, but I'm gonna go get him in the morning. And I actually knelt down and prayed because my mom would always tell me, hey, God's calling you, pray. I was raised a Christian, but I said, okay, I did it. Well, then come about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, they knock on my door. Hey, get your stuff ready. You're on chain. You're leaving. Talking about, I prayed that, and the Lord
Wow.
and they come and got me, put me on chain, and that's when they flew me to Maryland. So yes,
Yeah.
and I wasn't saved, so it still didn't impact me. Now after I got saved, and I was like, God, you answered me, and I mean, I still wasn't putting two two together. I prayed later on. I wasn't like, oh yeah, God, you. I'm like, oh, I gotta go. Okay, and I went and packed my stuff, and I
Yeah.
left. Now after I got saved and all this stuff come to me, I said, you listened to me when I didn't even want you, and I remember that prayer, like you asked, right on time. And I prayed it, wasn't safe. They knocked on my door a few hours later. Come on, we're leaving. So I didn't go, get
Just
in
like
that
that.
trouble with what I was about to go do, So,
Yeah.
but that's what I mean is when at Beaumont, how the riot came apart. That's what I mean. I was involved in. It was only God. It was by the grace of God. Like I showed it to you, read 150 inmates. Oh, but going back to the openness of the feds, they opened the whole yard. There was a skirmish between us and another gang, and we could see it boiling. When something's about to happen, you'll see the atmosphere get real thick on the prison yard, and it's something big because something happens there's a fight every day. But when a major thing is about to happen, where a whole riot's going to take place, and a whole one gang against another, you'll see it boiling up because you'll see heads meeting, talking, hey, what's going on, what happened, and you'll start seeing groups, and you feel it. You're like, hey, get ready, man. Something's about to happen. And I'm gonna be honest. I don't care what nobody says. You're worried, like before it comes to the climax. You're, oh man, get your stuff ready because in there, the inmates work in the job, so they can have shanks. And at the federal unit I was at Beaumont, the hurricane knocked out the camera system. There was no cameras. There was only one on the rec yard, and it was way in the back. And but when that hurricane hit, it knocked out a lot of stuff. So there was no cameras there. So back then, when I was there, it was they call it the like I said, Bloody Beaumont. They call it a rock and roll unit, and it was for hard cases. And so we went out to the rec yard. Now I understood. Now it's coming to me is that when that warden said go to the yard, do what y'all gonna do, and we'll pick y'all up later. We'll pick up, and here we go. We all meet at the yard. We're having some problems with another group, and we go to the yard. We're thinking, hey, let's talk about it. Nope. Next thing you know, we get out there. They start talking. There's a group over here, group over here. The heads are in the middle meeting, and right at that meeting, one of the guys hits the other one, and here we go. You see it all out. It's like what you see on TV. Two groups just came at each other, and here we go. We're fighting. And once it hit, there was no fear in me. It started because I was worried, like, oh, all right, let's go. Because I already know me. And like I mean, is I'm not putting nobody down, but it is what it is. It's you'll see people who didn't even make it to the yard. Oh, I got caught here. Didn't even show up, knowing something could happen. They're like, oh, nothing ain't gonna happen. Well, they didn't want to go to the yard because they knew, this was for real now. And here we go. We're in there. I get shanked in the arm. I get shanked in the shoulder. They hit me with a cane across top of the head. 12, like that paperwork I showed you. 12 staples across top of the head, six down the back. We're in there getting it in. My adrenaline's running. I didn't feel none of this, you know. And so
Yeah.
here we go. We're in there, and Now I know nobody got killed because God's hand was on it. I look back now and I said, you know what, Lord, thank you. Because I was mad. Man, we didn't kill one of them. That was my attitude then. Now it's a total. And like I said, those pictures you got, I'm not joking. I was for real on what I used to do. I was like, man, I was upset that we didn't, really hurt one real bad. But people got hurt. People got shanked up. But nobody died. And I thank God. Now I look back, because if somebody would have had died, we would have got caught up on a murder charge, and you get a free world case, and it's a big mess. But at that time, you're thinking, man, let's kill. It's the devil. Now I know you get so angry. You're like, man, let's. And so that's what I mean. God took me through a journey because, like we're talking to, I told all this to for what God had done is He got me on that. Like I spoke on the other interview on Con Air. Okay, when this riot happens, right? They separate the two groups. I got shot with flashbangs. Like it's on the paperwork. I have all my paper. They went out there with those sting bombs, and I thank God this didn't happen at the USP, because at the USP, 1 yard right next to us, they shoot to kill you. The guards will, and where I'm at, it's a little lower custody, so they don't shoot, but they hit you with those bombs, gases. When they hit you with those gases, you're like, man, I might have took a bullet, but I mean, because it's real. Those gas bombs, and they call them flashbangs. They explode on you, and then so you separate. We go one way, they go another, and so all the guards come in and start shooting us with that stuff. The gas hits you, and it's like what you see on TV. It is true that so both groups, they split us up to the center, and our group went one way, their group went another. And so the reason why I got shipped out, there was so many of us, is I couldn't hide it. They had to take me to, and no, I never failed. No, the guards pulled me off because there was too much blood on my clothes. Because when you get cut in the head, and my shoulder was bleeding, and my arm, I had blood on my clothes and on my head. So guys were trying to clean me up, but because what they do is they check you. Hey, come on out, you, and they look, send this guy to the infirmary. I'm like, man, I'm all right. I don't need to go though. Go over there. So that was it. I was automatically shipped out because I had too many wounds. They go there. You participated. No, I didn't.
There ain't
I
no
know I
hiding
didn't.
that.
Yeah, I said.
There's
I
no
said
hiding
no.
that.
Yeah, there was no hiding it. And I told him, no, I was playing basketball and I got jumped on. I had nothing to do with it. Yeah, yeah, right. So I was automatically gonna get shipped out. I had too many wounds. There was nothing I could hide. The blood was in my hair and on my clothes, and even I tried to get rid of them, it was on my face. I didn't know it, because it kept bleeding. So when they went to check me, infirmary, go. And that's when I have that paperwork. Nope. You got a statement? Nope. I ain't got nothing to say. They stitched my head up, they gave me staples, 12 across the top, 6 down the back, patched up my wound in the shoulder and in the arm, and sent me back to the dorm. You need to go? I said, no, send me back. I'm going back. Because I'm thinking, all right, we're going to get it on when we get back in the dorm. They shut the whole prison down. And so they put us on the whole prison on lockdown. We're in our dorm, in our room, and that's it. We can't get out. Whole prison's locked down. So then this whole time we got on lockdown. I stayed there maybe 2 more weeks in the hole, and then that's when you start seeing coming getting people from the cell and shipping them, and they take us to the hole. And there was so many of us. They had to open up the hole in Forest City, Arkansas, and they put us over there. And what they're doing is they're getting all your paperwork ready to see where they're gonna send you, because like I said, on feds, you don't have to stay in Texas. They'll put you on a plane. They know how to. And so they're shipping us now to different prisons all over the United States. I didn't know that at the time. I'm thinking, oh man, hey, we're getting this right. They let us go back. Nope, you're not going back. I'm like, oh. So here we go. They put us on the bus, drive us to Forest City, Arkansas, put us in the hole. And that whole time they're just getting our paperwork ready. And they sell us up. I had a good friend. Maybe we're in the hole together, talking about this whole stuff, and the gang we fought is underneath us on the on the second floor, and we're on the third, or they're on the first, we're on the second. But anyway, we're in the same building, and that's when I know. That's when we get into where God allowed all this to happen, because that's when I got sent to Maryland Federal Penitentiary. But it took a little journey, because you go in the hole and then you go back and forth, and even when I was in the hole, talking with my celly, we'd even say, come to find out he's a big dude here from Austin, Texas. He's a known guy. And we started talking about God and the Bible. I said, man, man, sometimes I think this life is getting old. Come to find out his girl or somebody in his family was going to church. And I said, yeah, my parents are Christians. And I even tried to pick up the Bible and start reading it. But I was just I'm in the hole and I'm reading it just like a book because I'm to kill time, because once you're sitting there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, week in, week out, I wound up sitting in that hole for maybe 4 to 6 months, just yep, while they get the paperwork ready and do what they're gonna do, and because it takes steps, it just can't put you on the plane and send you. It's had to go through a whole process of why they're kicking you out, what you know they're gonna do. So I'm sitting there just in the hole, just and we talked about the Christianity. I'm like, but anyway, so finally my time comes. They put me on that plane. I wound up in Maryland federal prison.
I was
So I'm
gonna
like,
ask you though, like,
yes.
so when you did open, the Bible during that time, that's when it started
Mhm.
to reactivate that those thoughts and stuff in your head though, with you and
Yeah,
your cellmate.
you know what now? Yeah, you see, that's what I say at the time. I'm not catching all this, but yes, I know it's part of now that I am a Christian and I know what God can do. Me opening that Bible again in the hole. That's what I mean. He'll allow because now I read my word and it says, "What the enemy meant for evil, I'm gonna turn for good." So yeah, the prison riot was evil, and he was trying to get me killed. But even though I made it to the hole, the Lord said, "Well, I'm gonna turn it for me now." So I'm in the hole, and there's nothing to do. So I pick up the
No.
Bible and I start reading it. Now I'm not saying, "Oh God, come into my heart," but I start reading it. I'm like,
Right.
and the Bible says, "Now I know that it's alive and sharper than any two-edged sword." So
Mhm.
without me knowing it, I'm reading, and it's getting in me.
Yeah.
It's getting in me.
Yeah.
But yeah, not saying I'm gonna read the Bible. I want God. No, I'm just, and it was basically as a there's nothing else to do. I'm here in the hole, so let me read it.
Just read it.
Yeah, and you see, and that's how great God is. That even though even the Bible says, even though we hated Him, He still loved us, and that's how
Mhm.
I know. Even though I was basically hating Him, He was still saying, here's my word. I'm still gonna bring you." Now I look back, but at the time, and I'm like, okay. So I start reading the Bible. I'm in the hole, and not day in day out. I just read it as is, and
Mhm.
so then I get sent to where I'm gonna go. And that's why I knew, don't get me wrong, throughout my walk in prison, and even before, like I have it on my testimony online, I knew God was calling me because I would have my downtime. Like even before I made it in prison, I'm selling all these drugs, all these, doing whatever I want. I got power. I'd be alone. I wouldn't even be alone. Like in my testimony I have on YouTube, I was in a limousine full of people. I had always known that God was calling me, but I didn't want to, I'm thinking, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to party and have fun. But now that I look back on my life, there was a lot of times that, man, I would just be down and out and just be thinking, I know there's more to life than this. I had money, I had power, I could do whatever I want, and still wasn't happy. I still had no peace. So as I even, after I got saved, that's when I said, Lord, you talk to me here, you talk to me. I'm just thinking it's just because what do the people call it? Oh yeah, the midlife crisis. You're chalk it up to you're just going through this, you're just going through that. So
Mhm.
that's what I chalked it up to. No, what it is God's dealing with us and He's giving you that chance to, hey, I got a better life for you. So I was just chalking it up to, nah. Well, after I got saved, I remember now. Yeah, I remember I was in the limousine, just down and out, like had money and women and cars, do whatever I want to do, and I'm down and out. Like I know there's more to life than this, you know. So
Yeah.
that's what happens when I finally get, after I got saved. All these things are coming back to me. But yeah, being in the hole and reading that word, I know it activated that spirit again. Now I know, you know what I mean. Now I know what's going on. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean. This riot that the enemy meant to kill me was actually the starting point to get me on my journey. Because now I read the Bible, He'll send people on a long journey. Well, they put me on that plane and sent me. I'm from Texas and sent me all the way to Maryland, the East Coast. I've
Mhm.
never been to the East Coast. I'm out of my element. There's no more visits because since I was at Beaumont, I was getting visits.
Oh
I had
yeah.
a big old store. I was too comfortable. The Lord was like, "This man's too comfortable to be looking up." And I pray that people see these videos and they'll tell you I had commissary. I had a story, and when you find this out about what I'm talking about, I had chips all underneath the bed, sodas in an ice bucket. I mean, and people would come and buy food from me, and I had no want when I was in prison. I had hooch. I could just make a deal with the wine man. Hey, look, you can come to my store, give me wine. I was living like out here. Mine was drinking. I would still do everything. At Beaumont, I had it too cushy. You know what I mean? I had a remote to the TV, but also that I had all that because I was willing to fight. Can't
Hmm.
just anybody walk into Beaumont and do all these things. So
Right.
I was, like I said, willing to fight and do all kinds of crazy stuff. That's why I wound up on Con Air, like I said on the last one, and in
Yeah,
in and the black handcuffs, and so that's why the Lord took me on that journey to get me where He needed me to be. But were you
and
gonna ask? Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, for the people that have watched part one, they'll understand like when you gave your life to God. Like just to
Hmm.
kind of summarize it, I mean, you went into this prison jail, the service that they
Yes.
had, and you gave your life to the Lord. And if they want to hear a little bit more about that in depth, they can see that in the part one. But after that transfer, right after the whole airplane kind of thing, that's
Yes.
when you got to this new facility, and that's where it was at. So to kind of fast forward past that part, what happened between that time? Like, how much time did you have until you were gonna be let free?
Okay, I hit that yard in '07, and I had 3 more years to go.
And then what was that transition period like? I mean, you talked about it on the last interview a little bit, but
Yeah.
like, was there any drama with it at all, or was it all pretty smooth for you?
No, when we first got there, and I thank God. Here's another story that God had His hand on it. We're from Texas, right? And we're in Maryland, and different groups can't walk on different yards. That's just the way it is. And so when we got to Maryland, which we're all the way from Texas, we don't have very many guys over there in Maryland. So when we got there, another gang that was there said, "Hey, they can't be here." Woo, I thank God because there was going to be some confrontation between us and that gang. It was a gang over there already there. And they said, "Hey, these guys, y'all can't be here." Or look, they told us, "Hey, well, all right, y'all are here," because 7 of us from that riot made it together, and because they shipped everybody different directions, but there was so many, because like I said, there was 100 and something of us in that riot, so they took like 60, 65 of our group aside alone and shipped us to different places. So 7 of us from that riot made it to the Cumberland, Maryland prison,
Hmm.
and so when we got there, there was other groups said, "Hey, nah, they can't be here." So we get out of the hole, and we have that mentality. Hey, we ain't checking in. You check us in. So and we went, and so we get out there to the yard. We have a meeting. The cops go over there, and I'm telling you, when you have a riot in prison, the information gets out real quick. This prison didn't have cameras. For us to go there, all of a sudden they installed all these cameras all over that prison. And even when we got there, you saw them finishing up. You saw a camera all the way down the walks and the kitchen, and they started installing all these cameras because they said, "Hey, these guys from Texas coming here, and anything can happen."
Jeez.
Yeah, and I saw it with my own eyes. They go, "Hey," and either people on the yard, they go, "Hey, we didn't have those cameras until y'all got here." And then I would even see guys on the outside company come in and install these. So we go out there to the yard. Here's another God moment. You asked.
Yeah.
Now I know it was, but at the time, so we go. This one group says, "Hey, all right, y'all can come here, but anybody else from y'all's group comes here, y'all got to tell them they got to go." And we have a meeting. Our group will have a meeting. We'll send the guy speaking because there's no head, and then they'll go over there and talk. And they'll have a meeting. Then they come back and tell us what happened. We're like, "What's going on?" And going back to that, I didn't want to be no speaker, which I could have. Nope, is because when anything happens, they go round up that speaker, the one who's talking for the group. So when they try to throw him away, I said, "Nope." I said, "Just call me when it's time to fight. Just call me. I don't want to," because they go get that guy. Somebody somewhere else could be doing something, and it ain't got nothing to do with. and they'll go get that guy, this one who's speaking. So when they try to hand me, I said, nope, nope, I don't want it. I'm gonna stay right here. Call me when it's time to fight, because I don't have time to be going to the hole for somebody else unless it's me getting in this fight. And then I'm like, okay, anyway. So when we go, the heads go out there and talk, and they go, hey, look, this was going on. They said that we can be here, but anybody else that gets here, we got to check them in. All the whole group unanimous, because we have a voting. So we're like, no, we're not gonna do that. So we said, nope, you go back and tell them, nope, we ain't doing that. So they go back and they said, no. So they're like, all right, hey, well, you know what? We're gonna have to, all right. So, in other words, it's going in a bad way. So here we go. We go back to our units and they see us. We start sharpening shanks, we start packing our stuff up, we start getting ready. So there's only 12 of us and 75 of them. So what we already planned in our head, hey, look, we're gonna take out the heads, because in every group you'll see there's people leading and there's leaders. So there's only 12 of us. We already had planned, hey, I'm gonna get this head, you get that head, and all 12 of us had picked somebody we're gonna get. So before we get off this yard, we're gonna go ahead and move on them. So we're in the chow hall, and no, we already had picked the place. It was gonna be in the chow hall. We said, hey, here we go at this yard. They're trying to tell us we can't walk. Hey, so we already had it planned. We're in our dorms, sharpening our shanks. Their group is seeing us get our stuff together. So as they start looking, they go, hey, these guys from Texas ain't playing. Here's another God moment. I thank God at the time, because I said, where was I going to go now? And then not only that, what the Lord did after that. So when they see us getting ready, getting our shanks, packing our stuff, what we're doing is we're getting our stuff ready, because once this riot happens, they're going to send us to the hole and then they're going to come get our stuff. Well, we already have it ready for them, so Arceli can't steal it or whatever. All our stuff, we're already getting it ready. When we know what we're gonna do, so all they gotta do is just go grab that one bag, and it's all our stuff. We already got it ready. So we started packing all our stuff, and the other group is seeing us what we're doing. They're like, so they went back and told their heads, because there's only a few. A lot of them started getting worried. They're like, no, 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 these guys are gonna come stab us. So when we already had set a date and a time and where and who was getting who, they call us back out to the art. They go, hey, look, man, we see y'all here just hanging out. Y'all are on peaceful. And we were. We just wanted to do time. We didn't over there, hey, give me your stuff. We were just doing time. They're like, hey, you know what? We see y'all just hanging out. We see y'all just being cool. All right. If the other guys come over here and they're cool like y'all, don't worry about it. We're good. I'll be honest, it was like, because I was gonna do what I had to do, but if I can stay there, I don't want to go no more. I'm like, all right, hey, and I wasn't like, everybody was like, yeah, you better. We're like, all right, hey, you know what? We're here in peace. And see, that was a God moment. He didn't let me go do what I was gonna do. Who knows, extend my sentence. Because who if the guy would have got killed or hurt, because people gotten killed. Like I have a video and it's called there's a lot of people who got killed. They weren't meant to get killed. It was just they fell the wrong way and the guy jumped on them and he wound up passing away. That guy winds up getting more time for that incident. So that's what I mean is I told that story for this one is that when God wanted me on their yard, because this was in '07, January of '08 was when I saw on the last videos when I walked into that service not even wanting to go. I went to go fight. So that talking about the God moment, I thank God he didn't allow that riot that we were going to initiate, because they told us we can't be there, and it blew over. We're able to stay there. Other guys, if they came from Texas, we were good. Only in our group. Any other gang, that's between them. Y'all can have that. That's between y'all's business. That ain't got nothing to do with us. And so, talking about a God moment, he didn't let it happen, and it was boiling down. You could tell the tension. Here we go, because it was reminding me of that riot I just got in at Beaumont. It was building up, the build up, the build up, and then they said, "No, we're good. Don't worry about it. If y'all come in peace, and as long as y'all ain't here to cause trouble, we're." And so God allowed that to happen, because I wanted to give my life to the Lord the very next year, because this happened in '07. '08 was when I walked into that service, and God changed my life that day. But going from there, what you're talking about, I eventually had to walk out of the game. And this was
Yeah.
scary when I have a video on that one. Is, you know, the prison gang has get in, beat you up, you want to get out. hey, we can do stuff to you. And I was like, well, I knew this. And so what really turned me that way, I saw a video, if I can be real quick, of a little girl, and it was Columbine, and they shot her. It was a school shooting back in '99. And what finally got me, because once I got saved, well, fast forward, I got saved at that church. I started going to the Christian library, and other Christians started showing me Christian videos, preachings, teachings, and I loving it because the Bible says, "I'll give you a new love." And I wasn't liking hanging out with the guys no more. All we talked about was money and women and all junk. God said, "I'll take it from." Now I understand. Now I'm like, man, I wasn't having fun. But when they would tell me about God or a Bible study, I was like, yeah, tell me more. I started wanting more of going to the Bible study, going to church, and so I was going to this. But I'm also walking with a knife and a Bible. To be real quick, I'm carrying my shank and I have the Bible and I'm going to church services, but I'm also going to our meetings, and we don't have meeting, but we'll go out to yard. Hey, watch out, so and so at this unit in this dorm is by. So we keep up with what's going on in the prison. Hey, watch out, this going on. Hey, if we need to, we'll go over there. Yeah, yeah. But I'm being torn, man, because I'm loving going to the church and this other thing. I'm not wanting it no more. I'm like, oh man. So I'm battling now. Now I know it's God dealing with me. Like, hey, it's called conviction. You're like, hey, you got to choose. And I'm loving this. Going to the Bible study, going to the church chapel where they got the videos, and man, I'm loving this. Well, then finally, what made me say, hey, you know what? I got to walk out and go my way. As I saw Rachel Joy Scott. She's a little girl who got killed in Columbine, Colorado. The school was called Columbine, but it was in Colorado. And basically, I'll be real quick. She had ministered to these two shooters that went to talk to her from the video I saw, and so they were like, "Hey, we're gonna shoot up this school. We see this girl. We're gonna get her." She was only like 16 years old, buck nothing, real petite. And I'm watching the video, and I saw her pictures, and so she witnessed to these guys. And when they saw her, they did. When they shot up that school, they saw her and they shot her. And then so when she went running, they shot her in the back. They grabbed her and they put the gun to her head and they asked her, "Do you believe in your God now?" And she said yes. And they blew her brains out. So as I sit there and watch that video, I'm sitting at the table like, finally, that was my final straw. I said, how can this little girl choose God? And I'm over here flip flop. I mean, I'm going to church and carrying a shank and I'm living two lives. Finally, I said, you know what? I can't do it no more. Lord, I choose you. When I saw that video, I went back to my cell. This is maybe 3 to 4 months into my conversion. I gave my life to the Lord in January. Come February, March, April, May, around that area, it was just dealing with me. I saw that video. I go back to my cell and I say, Lord, I got to get out, and I'm gonna go get out tomorrow. And I prayed. I'm not sitting here, oh man, I'm gonna fight everybody. No, I went and prayed. I said, Lord, I need your help, but I might be seeing you tomorrow. And I literally meant it. I said, Lord, I'm gonna go walk out. I'm gonna go tell them I'm done, and I'm gonna serve you. And so I prayed, saying, Lord, if I might be with you, literally, because let me go back real quick. Is it even if they jumped on me to get out? Like I tell everybody, not every murder is meant to be a murder. Like I said, they'll be jumping on somebody and they fall wrong and hit their neck, or it wasn't meant for them to kill them. So that's what I meant, was if they jump me out and go beat me up, I could fall wrong. One of their boot kicks me in the temple, and they're beating. So I just said, Lord, because like I said, I know prison. I've been there, done that, and not every murder is meant to be a murder. There's a lot of accidents. So I said, Lord, I might see you tomorrow, but I'm getting out. So the next day I go, call them out to the yard, the heads, and I'm like, hey man, I'm going with God, and and you know, and so the heads are like, yeah, we saw you, man. We seen you going to church, and so they go, hey, you know what, man, we're gonna go have a meeting on it. One was mad, and they're like, man, why? We're losing a soldier. He was upset with me, like, man. The other one, I think God, here's another God moment. His mom was a Christian. So when he saw me give my life to the Lord, he had more compassion because he's like, and I didn't find this out till later. And as I said, God would do stuff. I found this out later. He's like, all right, man. He goes, I called the head of D Town and H Town, Houston, Dallas. They're like, hey, you know what? And I was Austin. So they're like, hey, you know what? All right, let's talk about it. I went back. They go, hey, we're going to go talk to the homeboys. This is how great God is because there has been people who dropped out and they bust them up, smash them out. But this one was the seven of us who came. Some in the group who didn't know me were saying, oh, man, this dude's just trying to hide behind the Bible. And the other half that saw me in the riots and the fights and everything I did up until that time, they were saying, no, this guy, he's not hiding behind that Bible because when it was time to riot and he'd show you, I'm the one who got all stabbed up at that one riot. The other people got hurt too, but I also did too, you know. So they were like, no, when it was time to fight and all that stuff, he showed up. So there was a little back and forth of how the enemy wanted to get them to get me. And the ones who were with me, they go, hey, no, this dude ain't hiding. He's for real. So they went and had a meeting, and I think God, here's another God moment. He used the ones who've been with me to override the ones and say, no, he's not hiding. So they came back, called me back to the yard. I was like praying. I was like, all right, Lord, I'm gonna follow you. I made up my mind, I'm gonna follow you. And so they called me back out to the yard and they're like, hey, look, we had a vote, we talked, the group that said that you weren't hiding and they knew you, they voted more and hey, look, they go, they're just gonna give you a pass. They're gonna let you walk out because they see you serving God. You know, there's a difference. If one group gets out of our gang to go join another, smash them out. Or if he's just trying to quit just to quit, smash them out. We have rules. But me, I went to God. One thing I give about God, I thank the Lord. That there's some groups that hey, this guy's really gonna go with the Lord. They'll allow you. Hey, but ours was 50-50. If they felt like beating you up, they beat you up. They didn't. So God used that and they said, hey, you know what? You go with God. But they gave me a warning. This was the warning they gave me. They go, hey, we see you going to church. We see you serving God. If we see you go back to the hooch, the wine, living that life you were living before, it's called, we're going to put some iron in your diet. Meaning they were going to put a shank in me. They said, we're going to put some iron in your diet. But as long as you keep doing your walk, don't worry about it. I said, all right, man. Hey, no, I agree with you. Just that's the same rules I believed in, and so that's how my beginning journey started. And God was so great. Is it? I gave my life to the Lord on the other video. How I walked in that service. Now this is me walking out of the prison gang. Well, then I was set to finish my time because with that riot, it kicked my points up into the federal system all the way to 28 points, which is USP. But since that riot report, they stuck me there in Maryland just to figure out what they were going to do with this. Well, we wound up fighting the riot report. And I thank God, to be real quick, I was programming, didn't even know what I was working out. Well, anyway, my points were coming off and I didn't even know it. So when I got saved, gave my life to the Lord, I was supposed to finish my sentence in Maryland to 2010 and then get bussed home from there 2 years later. I gave my life to the Lord in January. I walked out in maybe April, May. They called me to the captain's office. I mean, not the captain, to the counselor's office and said, hey, your points have come off. That ride report got knocked off you. You're down to 10 points. We're going to send you to a low back in Texas. And I was like, what? They go, yeah, you're shipped out of here. But look at this. You want to see another God moment?
Yeah,
There's a
let's hear it.
song by Mercy Me. And look it up. It's called Never Been More Homesick Than Now. When that counselor was talking to me, that song was on the radio. And it says, and in that song, it'll say, never been more homesick than now. How it cries. And it's saying, I'm going to go home. And I'm there. And I'm be honest, I started getting watery eyed. And I was like, that's God. Because this man is just telling me, hey, you know what? Your points came off. We're shipping you back to Texas. On the radio, they're playing I Never Been More Homesick Than Now by Mercy Me. It's a Christian band.
Yeah. Wow. It all went together just like
Yeah,
that.
that's I mean how what the enemy meant for evil, God turned it for good, and I got wound up getting saved, and He had to get me out there, and then so that
Yeah.
was my to get me back home to Texas. You know.
Yeah, and I think maybe we'll have to do a part 3 eventually too. We'll see what people
Yeah,
think about this once we get part 1 out and then part 2 out, and then, maybe do a part 3, but I think, yeah, this was a good in-depth one about your life and what it was like in prison and how you were able to maneuver and make it out and by the, help of from God to,
but the grace of God is the
grace
only
of God,
reason why
yes.
is I'm
Yes.
alive now. I used to think I was a bad dude. No, it was God, because even on this, real quick, the guy next to me, we used to call him Debo. I'll say his name because he wound up, and he got that name Debo because he was a big dude from H Town. And me and him wound up in that infirmary together. He got shanked up, same thing. So we're in there together. We ain't saying nothing because the guards are there. So I can be real quick. God, we made a pact. Me and him, we shook hands. We looked at each other like, "Hey, you're gonna get down. I'm gonna get down." We shook hands. We basically made a pact that no matter where we go, if we're together, it don't matter. Me and you, we're gonna get out there together. If they get us, they get us together. Well, I go to Maryland, and he goes to Forest City, Arkansas. They wound up killing him 2 weeks before he goes home. You
Really.
see, yes, and that's how I know it's by the grace of God. This guy was huge. He that's why we called him Debo. And me, I used to think, man, I got hands. I could have got killed at any moment. I could have got
Mhm.
killed any time, and that's why I know it was God is the reason why I'm still alive. Not saying that guy um died for a reason, but because God is using his story now. Because I go talk to people about what's going on and what can happen. You see,
Mhm.
so God is even using him now, even though he's gone. You see.
Yeah, I mean, you make a pretty good point with that because it could have been you. It definitely could have been you, and
Oh,
he's one of many people that unfortunately did end up, dying in there, and there's a lot more. But, I think that's probably a good note to wrap up on, though, Jamie. You got any final words you want to say?
just hey, yeah, we're gonna have to do another because there's way more when I got home. But yeah, so the thing is, like I said, if you're watching these videos, God's calling you. It's by no mistake, and there's life after. If you think that, oh man, my life is horrible and I did so much dumb stuff, you're looking at the person who did so much dumb stuff and he was a kid, and God can still use you. You know what I mean? Look up. Your life ain't over. It's just beginning.
Mhm. And what did you say earlier? You said before we went on recording, you said your mom told you something today? Or what you
Oh
said you wanna
yeah.
bring it
See,
up?
my mom. That's what I mean. Is how if you really change your life, and I put my mom through a lot of stuff. Because I'm the baby. Just put it. I'm the baby. There's 8 of us. I'm the youngest of all of us. And my mom went through some stuff, and my father did too. Both my parents. And nobody wants their youngest son to be in prison. And then I'm the only one born while they were serving God. And so my mother was at court dates and crying at visits, and she's like, man, So when I finally gave my life to the Lord and came home this last time, because like I said, I've been in and out, in and out. I sat down with my mom, serving God. She goes, you know what, Jamie? Everything you've ever done, everything you've ever put us through, don't worry about it. It's gone. She goes, the hurt is done. She goes, seeing you saved, me and your father have no ill will. We have peace. We're like, ah. Because it's another sad thing. And I'll be real quick. My mother told me, she goes, do you know, Jamie, I only had peace when you would call me from jail. And she'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, mijo, yeah, yeah, you're in jail. Okay. She goes, I would only get sleep when I knew you had got arrested and was locked up. You see, because the normal family, what, you're in jail? Oh, and they go crazy. My
Mhm.
mother said, I only had peace, Jamie. When you would call me from jail, she'd be like, oh, I know you're alive. I know where you're gonna be. Okay, I'll go visit you. And that's another thing. My mother said, I only had peace when you would call me from jail. But then when I came home saved and serving God, she's like, you know what? Now I have peace. Regardless, now you're at home. And so, yeah, I forgot about that. My mother would tell me, I only had peace when you called me from jail because I knew where you're at. And she goes, I would sleep like a baby after I found out you're in jail. Okay, yeah, we'll send you. All right, I'll go visit you. All right, bye. And she said she slept good. You know,
Yeah.
but now, like
Mhm.
I said, when I got out, my mother said, I sleep good now knowing you're out and serving God. So
Yeah, and see, that's just like you said, the unfortunate thing that you had to go through, but and put family through, but now you're where you are
yeah.
now. That's what's important, and so hopefully your message motivates some other people that may be in the same situation as you, or you know what, even in a worse one, but can relate to you in some kind of level. But
Oh yeah.
you know, there's definitely hope out there, right, Jamie?
Oh yeah, and that's why I want to do these shows. Like I talked to you, I don't want to be famous. I just want the message of Jesus proclaimed, and not only that, the peace and joy that He can give to you, even though you've had a horrible life and done stuff. God's not mad at you. He's waiting for you with arms wide open, and He can't wait to give you a beautiful life that He's always had for you. It's still there. Just look up to Him.
Yeah. And that's what the whole purpose of was with this show, or this part too. It's like we wanted to cover that the prison aspect of it because that is important because it's not like it's a glamorous
Oh no.
place to go to. I mean, we had to cover this part, and we just felt like we didn't cover enough of it. We kind of
Hmm.
skimmed through it in the first one, but now you heard the nitty gritty, or how would you label it, Jamie?
We're gonna have to do a part three because there's a lot I left out that
Hmm.
of how your friends are the one who's gonna move on you, and we'll pray and leave that. But
Yeah,
it is horrible. Do not go. I'm not glorifying prison. I'm just, yeah, I went through it, but I only tell the stories because I want you to know what Jesus can do with you. You know, it's more horrible. I got more stories, which we're gonna do three because there's more of your own friends are the ones that you think got my back. They're the ones who's gonna move on you. They're the ones who's gonna do the hit. They're the ones who's gonna invite you in your cell. You're gonna be hanging out like, oh man, and it's gonna happen. And that's what I mean. It's horrible, and I got, but yeah, we're gonna have to, and that's what I mean. It's Jesus is the answer. If you haven't been, don't go to prison. But if you've been, that's not the rest of your life. Jesus got a plan for you.
right.
Yeah.
All right, well, everyone, thanks for watching. And again, if you haven't watched part one, that'll be in the video description. Jamie's YouTube channel will be in the video description as well. So check that out. Go support him and go check out his videos because if you like hearing him talk today and you want to hear more of his advice and what he has to say, you'll be able to see that on his YouTube channel. Thank you, everyone, for watching. God has transformed Jamie into a brand new version of himself. Jamie is now thanking the Lord by sharing his personal testimony. With a life story like Jamie's, I'm sure many people can connect to his story, or many have a family member or friend who can. If you haven't seen the first episode, that'll be in the video description below. Please comment any key takeaways that you got from this podcast with Jamie. Please share it with anyone that you think needs to hear this podcast. Also, just share it with anyone that just likes to hear a good redemption story. Hit the like button if you enjoyed today's podcast. Hit the notification button if you want to get notified when the next podcast drops. Also, please be sure to subscribe to my channel to get more podcasts like this. At the end of this video, a playlist will pop up of all the other interviews I've done in the past. Thank you again so much for watching, and of course, we'll see you on the next one.